Malakal Goak fled Sudan in 1998. This is his story.
But when you come to apply for political asylum, you must state a very specific thing that happened to you as a person. And my situation, I was working with the government back home in Sudan, and I was accused of having an ally with the rebel who were fighting the government.
Malakal was in charge of distributing the food given by international aid organizations to feed the internally displaced people within Sudan. However, he was often ordered to send this food not to these needy civilians, but instead to the Popular Defense Force. This group of volunteer soldiers fought with the Sudanese army against the rebels. The government didn't pay them a salary, but did provide them with food and weapons. Malakal was asked to sign a paper stating that he allowed the food to go to the Popular Defense Force instead of the Sudanese people it was intended for. He refused because he didn't want to take responsibility for a decision that he had no control over.
All I was saying is just, why do you have to do it? Why do you have to sign a document? Why can't you just give them if you want us to do it? And then the minister called me and he said, we know you communicate with the rebel. So I told the minister I do not have any communication with the rebel. The same day, at night, around 9 p.m., I was picked up by the security. And since then, I think I've been in the hand of in the prison for like 3.5 months, being tortured, beaten, forcing me to admit that yes, I do communicate with the rebel. They are seeking an information that does not exist. We went through a lot, and then I was blindfolded, put into the plane, taken to the war zone. You know, put in a dark bunker, if you know the bunker. So live there with the prisoners of the war, mentally tortured, because what they do, when they decide to kill one of the prisoners of the war, they don't shoot it. So they will just come with axes and call whoever they want to kill. They will beat him where all of us are seated until that person died. And they will ask us to clean the blood and the pieces of the body. Until one of the evening, I was called outside by the officer at 5 p.m. And to my understanding, I thought that was my day. We came out, and officers, it was under tree. Officers were, all the soldiers were standing. There was only one officer was sitting on a chair like this. Then he asked me to sit down, and I sat down with that inmate together. So all the soldiers were just standing. Then he asked me, what is your rank at the SPLA? SPLA is the Sudan People Liberation Army, the rebel fighting the government. And I said, I'm not a member of the SPLA. And then an officer kicked me. A soldier, and then the officer said, no, don't kick you. And then I asked him, can I go to a toilet? And he looked at me and said, you want to go to the toilet? I said, they were all laughing. And, oh, you want to go to the toilet? So, and then he asked one of the soldiers with a gun and said, okay, take them under those trees. You know, there's that war zone is a little bit very bushy area. Actually, the reality is I would just decide to run because what I felt was that they're going to torture me to death. So I thought they were just coming to kill me. So what I prefer was to be shot, so I die by the bullets and better than being beaten. Then I decided to pick up running. And my other inmate decided to run. We went through different directions. And the guy was running after, hey, stop, stop, forgive in Arabic. And he decided to fire the bullets. And everybody was running. They all decided to come over to catch us. We were running very fast. It was a bush. We were running into trees, and the sun was getting down. You know, it's also a war zone. They didn't want to come very deep in the forest. I was hearing, because they were firing, I was still hearing this, they were talking, oh, it's there, catch him, get him. And they were still firing bullets. But there was a point where I knew they were not firing because they were seeing me. They were just firing so that the bullet might just get to me. That's how I escaped the jail. And it took me some time to walk, almost about a week or so, in the villages until I reached Kenya. My body was wounding and my feet, because I was running without shoes, you wouldn't want to see it. So I was taken to a hospital in Logochoga. It's a border between Sudan and Kenya. The hospital is called Lapiding. Then I was nursed there for I think 2 months.
After recovering in the hospital, Malakal moved to Nairobi, Kenya, and took a series of jobs with different relief organizations. But the Sudanese government continued to hunt him down. Often, strangers would show up in his neighborhood asking for him. Every time this happened, Malakal moved. In 2003, Malakal was invited to a conference in the United States. He decided to come and then stay and apply for political asylum. It took 7 years before his application was finally approved in April 2010. In the meantime, Malakal started Caring People of Sudan, an organization that focuses on AIDS and HIV education.
And HIV and AIDS, it's a silent killer among Muslim community and a very cultural community like Sudanese. So when I went to the Nebraska AIDS Project and asked them that I want to campaign, I want to help, and they asked me, are you not a Sudanese? I said, I am. They said, but nobody want to talk about this in your community. I said, then you want to leave us like that? So I don't think that would be right. And so it was the beginning of Caring People Sudan.
While Malakal is caring for his people in the States, he still has a passion to return home and improve the lives of the southern Sudanese by developing the country.
I would never want to go back when the Sudan is still under the Islamic regime. I would never. But now that the Southern Sudan is going to be an independent state, I'm going. If you look at the Southern Sudan now, you will surprise, because it's like since the creation of the world, it's like very remote. Nothing has been done. No roads, no telephone, nothing. You know. So if you become a different state, I think we can at least make it a little different. We can develop our own country, our own nation. We'll make our own roads, telephones, and development. I want to do some development. I want to mobilize you and other American friends to come and do some development. Whatever you know, we raise some money, you get your share, but develop my people, my country.
From Omaha, Nebraska, for footslogging.com, I'm Shelley Bradbury.